Commenter Day is back. This is the series where you all tell me what to build. Greetings friends, Khaios here. You all asked for it, so I'm bringing back this series. In Commenter Day, I take the top comment with a build request from the previous Commenter Day video, and I try my best at it in Terraria. So remember to leave your comments on this video with your build requests, and if you like one that somebody else has already recommended, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It would also be a great help if you could leave this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell to help engage us with the algorithm. And if you would like to help the channel in a more direct way, you can hit the thanks button down below, become a channel member, or check out our Patreon for various rewards linked in the description below. It has been years since I held a Commenter Day due to various reasons, including losing the world save with my old stuff on it. So to kick this Commenter Day off, I asked for your build requests back during my previous elevator tutorial, and the top comment was from Vicwip, who requests a futuristic meteorite base. This is something I've done before in a few different ways, including my forest pylon build, so this time I want to change it up as much as possible. I got to thinking, technically speaking, a hunk of space rock and ice doesn't become a meteor until it's burning up in an atmosphere. So what if for this build, I make it look as if there's an abandoned mining base on a small asteroid that's burning up in a planet's atmosphere? The base would be breaking apart, as would the rock, but it would be unlike anything else that I've ever built, and I think it would look quite flashy for the return of Commenter Day, so that's what I'm going to try to do. First thing to consider is location. 1.4.4 added the Ether monolith, which could make any location look like space, since it makes everything dark and adds a bunch of stars, and that gives us a lot more room to work with. But there are a few drawbacks for using this monolith. Firstly, it makes all of the blocks sparkle, which could be quite distracting for a lot of builds. I'm not sure if I'm worried about that for this one in particular, but the second issue is that the Ether monolith doesn't just replace the sky with stars like a traditional monolith would. It places stars in any completely dark area, including inside of blocks, which means that the center of the meteor will either have to be lit up or it's going to have stars within it. I could build this thing on the space layer of the world, but even in a large world, that area is pretty small, and since the meteor is going to be burning up in an atmosphere, I imagine it would be bright enough that I can work with the Ether monolith and not have to do anything weird. So we're going to build this just above spawn in the sky. For the sake of you not having to watch me build this in total darkness, I am not going to be using the monolith until later on in the build. So let's start off by building the asteroid itself. And while I work on that, I just wanted to let you know that today at 10 AM Pacific, which is GMT -8, just a few hours after this video has released, I will be having a special live stream with a bunch of Terraria content creators as we play Terraria Family Feud. This is inspired by the classic game show Family Feud, geared towards the Terraria community. This event is hosted by Shanidu, who will be giving the two teams questions and revealing the answers. Team Crimson Knights is composed of fellow Terrarian YouTubers Adrian, Boyo, Goodwoe, and Gunnir, and they will be facing off against the Wall of Fresh, which is made up of Beaverak, Mars, Waffle Time, and myself. Don't worry if you won't be able to make it to the stream, or if you're watching this after the stream has already happened, as I will be compiling my perspective into a video later, plus VODs will be available on the channel in my VOD playlist. We hope to see you all in just a few hours. It should be a lot of fun. And now we have one large asteroid that is currently breaking up. Or that's kind of what I have in mind when I envisioned what I've been doing here. I pictured this as one cohesive unit that when it started entering the atmosphere, it's starting to fracture into larger and smaller pieces. and I'm thinking it's heading in this direction, like so, which means we'll have a fire trail that'll glow more yellow over here and then turn more orange and red back here. Now, this is a desert intentionally. Normally, I do not play with the heat waves turned on, but I figured for this, it might be a good idea. Normally, it makes videos kind of wish-washy and it's not the greatest, especially for time-lapsing. But once this is all said and done, I'm going to turn the heat waves on like this because they still work with the Ether monolith. And I think it's going to add a lot to the feel of this because this would be very hot. That's why I've gone with entirely desert materials for the asteroid. So before I start working on the heat trail and making everything look like it's actually burning up, I want to add sections to the base. And I'm thinking a lot of it is going to be on the top of this section of the rock and this section of the rock, as well as inside of them. And we're going to make it look like it's been broken up a bit. Maybe a little bit over here that's been shattered, and possibly a small one down here that's been unshattered but leads underground. I want to make it look like they had been mining this rock up for resources, anything of value, and then abandoned it when it was starting to get too close to whatever planet or sun or whatever it's starting to burn up in. So we have our abandoned, falling apart, destroying sci-fi base, and the original request didn't specify if they wanted this to be valid NPC housing, valid player housing, neither, just decorative. So I'm kind of just going with it. Mostly this build is going to be decorative. However, I could very, very easily make this valid housing just by throwing some echo platforms in over here and then throwing some furniture in on that side of the building. That would become a valid house. I could probably even fit one right here. It would kind of be cutting it. So maybe I'll do that. I do plan on adding more details and more furniture to the builds either way. Ideally, I would like to rotate part of these just a little bit, but of course we are building on a strictly flat two-dimensional plane, so I'm just picturing that these have just broken up and they haven't really started to like spin out of control and burn up in the atmosphere just yet. Like, we're just getting into the atmosphere. So I'm going to go through here and we're going to start work on the cave next. All of these little holes in between the materials where they don't blend, I'm going to fill those in with some background walls. It doesn't really matter what, I just want to get rid of that light in there. And then any mistakes like this I can clear up where we had several blocks not blending together. I'm going to clear up little mistakes like that. And then we're going to take our cave walls and we're going to make it look like there was a mine within this asteroid. So we've got a whole bunch of different rock walls in here. We could do different patterns with them. They're going to look like they're shattered over here. I'll also add some in between all of the fragments of the asteroid. And then I'm going to have piles of this cyan painted vortex fragment. And that's, I guess, kind of what they were mining in this area before they had to abandon it. Now the cave with the mine is complete. These vortex fragments that have been painted cyan for the ore do not blend with the hardened sand and the sandstone that we made for the asteroid. But if I put some gray painted sand in there, those do blend. So I'm able to blend all of the materials together nicely using some of that sand. I also throw some crates and meteorite lanterns around, some support struts in the walls, a little elevator thing for carrying the ore out, more crates, and I decided to go ahead and make this house valid in case anybody plays it. Typically, I don't release my worlds publicly. However, I do offer my world downloads folder as a reward on Patreon, so some people are able to actually play this. And of course, I decided to add this little mock concept for a solar panel. It's something that I want to experiment around with when I go to building my terracore base, as I'm going to be doing something in the desert that is sci-fi, and I kind of want to have a solar array out there, so I thought I would mess around with it just a little bit in this build. So for the most part, the asteroid itself is done. We've got debris falling off, trailing off to the side. You could tell which way this asteroid is falling on the map now. The structures are falling apart. Everything is looking good. We just need to add a lot of light and a lot of fire. The light is going to be the biggest problem, because if we just plop down our ether monolith, which we'll echo code eventually so you won't see it, but you can tell that we have a bit of a problem here, as things are very dark, and very dark things make stars. So I'm gonna have to make sure everything in here is lit up very bright so we don't have stars in here. The biggest thing that I need to figure out right now is what materials to put around the edge to make it look like it's glowing and hot, and then add the fire trail as well. I don't know if I want to do solely living fire for that. It might look a little tacky, and I think I'd rather go with static materials than something that looks a little too out of place. I went with some red painted meteorite block and hellstone for the edges of the asteroid. That would be the hottest. Meteorite block blends very well with sand, but hellstone doesn't, which allows me to make some sections of the heated material connected while other segments are intentionally broken apart. The added sparks from both of these blocks really contribute to the feeling as well. And this is where I think I had a slight stroke of genius. I was playing around with different materials, and then I thought back to my killer rabbit house that I built a couple of months ago. In that build, I had used thin ice in a way that I never anticipated using, to add a decorative spray of blood along the walls of the cave. It's quite a unique material, as it holds color very well, it's transparent, and it looks very bright when coated with illuminant. It also has a nice rough texture. It clicked in my head that I could use this for the flame trail on this meteor, which I did with the deep orange paint. In the gaps between the hellstone and the meteorite block, I use red painted lava fall wall. Then I use amber and ruby gem spark wall to bring the red and orange glow more into the center of the asteroid's body. Using magma wall, I add some fiery texture to all of the cave walls in between the broken sections. This build is really starting to come together. I'm extremely happy with how all of this is turning out. So the blend of gem spark walls in the background, the hellstone and meteorite blended with gray sand, and then this thin ice with deep orange for the fiery glow. I'm really liking it, and I think that might just be the fire trail. Maybe I shouldn't do it too big, because if I made it look like an entire fireball, then, well, the structure on top of it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense at that point. And I kind of want this to look like it's breaking up but not fully disintegrated yet. So I might do some more fire trail leading off, but not too big, to make it look like it's just starting to break up in an atmosphere. Now we need this thing to glow. So we're going to go ahead and switch it over to a midnight, not on a blood moon, preferably Terraria. 2 blood moons in a row. 3 blood moons in a row. All right, there we go. I cannot believe that just happened. And we are going to start by illuminate coating up probably the hellstone and the meteorite. I'm not sure about the meteorite. And now with that out of the way, we're gonna grab some echo coating, some orange torches and red torches, and we're going to, well, actually echo coat these. and place them around. I'm not sure if I'm going to use a whole lot of the red torches. I want to experiment around with it. Maybe a bit of both, maybe just the orange torches. But we're going to place these around anywhere that the fire is to make it especially bright in those areas. And yes, that is coming together so much better. I love the night sky. There's one thing that I'm really worried about. Other than that, this thing might be next to complete. The one thing that I'm worried about is the ether monolith, actually. So we have our monolith here, and when I activate it, we have some stars within the asteroid, which I could clear up with more lighting. But the bigger thing that I'm worried about, and this is something I didn't really take into consideration when I decided to use the ether monolith, is that not the sparkles, but the fact that it changes everything in its coloration ever so slightly towards a purple shift hue, a blue, purple, magenta shift around that spectrum, which kind of clashes heavily with the fiery reds and oranges that we have from this meteor, and I think it detracts from it quite a bit, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. So I think what I'm going to do is hop into T-Edit and move this thing higher up into space. It's not what I had planned originally, but once I got this thing thrown together and actually tested out the ether monolith, I was not very happy with it. I'm also going to throw some Rebel Maker piles around here and there just to spruce up the place even more. And then I'm going to add a few more fire trails, just thin streaks, nothing too massive. We don't want this to be a full-blown fireball, and this build will be complete. I hopped into T-Edit, moved the meteor into the sky, and oh yes, it looks so much better. Let's take a zoom out and take a full look at the final build. Here we go, and yeah, this is much better in the daytime than nighttime, and far better in actual space than in the ether biome or with the ether monolith, just because that purple tint kind of ruined the entire vibe. So we just hop on out over here. You'll see that we added a few more trails to it. Not very many. I didn't need a whole lot. Like I said, I just wanted to make it look like it is barely starting to burn up. This is a medium world, not a large world. So at the very bottom of this, we start to head into the sky and out of space. But that wouldn't be the case if I had plopped this into a large world, which I didn't consider at the time. C'est la vie. But all in all, I'm very happy with it. I hope you all are as well. Be sure to remember to leave a comment requesting what you would like for the next commenter day, or upvote any requests that you see that you really do like. Don't forget that we have a live stream in just a few hours playing Family Feud Terraria with a whole bunch of content creators. If you all like this video and you'd like to see more of it, be sure to subscribe and help us reach our goal of 400,000 subscribers. A huge thank you to my biggest supporters for the month: Matt Dragon, Hypic3, and Duke Samron. And be sure to check out my channel artist MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Until then, happy building.